On today's question of faith, what makes for a good vacation? Hey everybody, this is Question of Faith. I am Deacon Mike Hayes. I'm the Director of Young Adult Ministry here in the Diocese of Cleveland.
And I'm Father Damian Ference, the Vicar for Evangelization.
And you were just on vacation, following Springsteen around.
That's it, yeah. A couple shows in Pittsburgh and Philly and visiting friends along the way and enjoying life and resting and taking a nice break from work.
Now, when you go on vacation, do you want to be very active and doing a whole bunch of things, or do you want to sit and do nothing? And I'll tell you why I'm asking in a second. But
well, I think I like to be active because I'm a pretty active guy anyway. But I also like certain vacations. I'd like the mornings just to go slow and to read. Mm-hmm. But most importantly, I want to make good use of my time, whether it's resting and reading. I mean, I start my mornings with prayer every day anyway. But I also like to do things that I'm not able to do as much during the year and maybe see people that I'm not able to see as much during the year.
That's right, yeah. When I first got married, Mary and I were talking about where we were going to go on vacation. And I said, hey, you want to go to Chicago? And we could take in a show, and we can go see some folks that we know, and we could do this, and we could do that, and we can go down Navy Pier, and all kinds of things. Just I don't know. And I was like, well, what about Boston? Maybe we go to Boston, we can walk the Freedom Trail, and we can go and do this. We could see our friends in Boston. And she was like, well, don't you just want to go somewhere and relax and read books and sit out on the porch and lay in a hammock or all those kinds of things? And I just looked at her and was like, that sounds awful. I was like, that sounds like the worst vacation of all time. And she was like, oh. And we just realized we had different ideas of what vacation was. Right. And so now we kind of blend us. Sort of what you just described a second ago is about what we do now. Is the mornings are a little slower. Mm-hmm. We relax. She's probably reading a book somewhere. I'm probably doing something similar. I would be reading something as well. But then in the afternoon, we're out. We're out doing so. Or in the evening, certainly, we'd be out and around wherever we go. So we tend to go to cities. But her uncle has a condo in Ventnor, New Jersey, one of the yellow properties of Monopoly. If you're playing Monopoly, and that was a place that we would go when we lived a little closer to there. So we haven't found a quiet vacation spot yet here. So.
I see.
But anyway, so you followed Bruce around, and
yeah, I did. So I'm a huge Springsteen fan. I've been seeing him live since I was 16, and I've been listening to him since I was 4 years old. And he and Flannery O'Connor are my two favorite artists, hands down. And so anytime I'm able to see him perform live, I do. Now he's 74 years old. Oof. He toured Europe all summer.
I find that so hard to believe.
Yeah, but you watch him. It's very inspiring to see someone at that age performing so well with a band that he's been playing with the core of that band for 50 years, and they're so tight and they're so good. Yep. And it makes me want to be better at what I do. Just to see, it's watching anyone, whether it's Caitlin Clark or Venus or Serena Williams or LeBron. You watch anybody who's good at anything. Simone Biles, Katie Ledecky,
Aaron Judge, whoever.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
Please, I don't want to praise the Yankees, but I will give him credit. He's good. I've seen him live. I saw him with Father Steve Breck a few years ago. The Mets played the Yanks at Citi Field, and someone who's excellent. You just say, congratulations, you're excellent at that, and it makes me want to be excellent at what I do too. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So. It was very enjoyable. Met up with some. And what did I do is, let me rewind a little bit. Yeah. So, my parents had me when they were older. My mom wasn't that old. My mom was 37, but my dad was 51.
Oh wow, okay.
And so, I have some memories of some family vacations as a kid, but I was hyperactive, and so I couldn't be in a car for a long period of time. So we never went very far. Maybe to Sandusky or to Cedar Point. Or we have some property down in Guernsey County where Kayla Gill's from. But by property, I mean a quarter of an acre next to my godparents' home, which has an outhouse. So think rustic and then add something to it. So we'd go there just to get away. And we once went to Niagara Falls. But after my mom had breast cancer for the first time when I was in third grade, we never did family vacations anymore. And part of that was because my parents were older and wanted to go to places like Frankenmuth and up in Michigan and visit the Christmas store. And I was like, I just want to go. So I think I've gotten used to vacationing with friends and figuring out how that works pretty well. So that's what I did. I just set the week up where I stayed with friends almost every night with the exception of one. And my one friend who I was with had some points, so he put us up in a nice hotel in Philly the night after the Springsteen show. But we had a good time. If you've not followed Springsteen, oftentimes he'll play the same city 2 nights, not consecutive nights, because at 74 you need a little bit of rest.
Yeah.
So he played Pittsburgh on Thursday, and then he played again on Sunday, and we went to the Sunday show. And he opened with Candy's Room, which is Darkness on the Edge of Town, and then went into the deep cuts that night. And he did the same thing second night in Philly. So I think this is what he does. First night in a town, he plays a lot of the hits that you would expect, and then second night goes into the deep cuts. He played I'm on Fire from Born in the USA.
Love that song.
And he played If I Were the Priest, which I have never heard live before. So that was a lot of fun.
I don't think I've heard that live either. I've been a couple of Springsteen concerts myself.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard him play that
one
live.
I think he only played it for the first time in Europe this summer. And so when he pulled that one out, I was like, yeah, my friends who were with me, like, If I Was a Priest. So anyway, it's an interesting song. It's fairly absurd, but I was glad to hear it. And I went with a friend who I've known since I was 5 years old at Incarnate Word, and another younger friend who goes to a lot of concerts but who had never seen Springsteen live. And let's just say when you're a Zoomer and you're going to shows that are 90 minutes in length and then Mr. Springsteen, the band, plays for 3 hours and 5 minutes, you get rocked to the ground.
Yeah.
And so that was really good. And then the Philly show was also good, but what was nice, when my buddy flew in from Cleveland, I picked him up at the airport that morning, and we had the day to explore. So we decided, well, let's drive to Jersey because it's not that far. It's about an hour away. And we drove to Freehold, which is where Springsteen grew up, and visited his home parish, St. Rose of Lima. And it's one of these parishes, kind of like Martin Atour's, Terry Yeoman's parish in Valley City, where the original church was small.
Yep.
And then they built a big church next to it, but they did not tear down the original church because they can still use it for funerals, weddings, and daily masses. So my buddy and I are there. Rich McCarthy, by the way, who's got shout-outs on this show before, and he's like, I wonder if I'll get a third one. Okay, you just got it. So he goes into the church while I'm doing a little Insta video, and then he doesn't come out for a little bit. And I'm like, oh, he must be really liking the church. And then he comes out and says, there's a funeral going on in there. And so then after that, we went to brunch in Freehold, which is a very Springsteenian thing to do. And then we drove about 25 minutes east to Asbury Park, which is the name of Springsteen's first album is Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey. And everything's there, like Kingsley Avenue, the Palace, where the Hemi Power Drome screamed down the boulevard, the old image of Tilly, Madame Marie's. And Rich and I were there in 1998 when we were both seniors in college and did a little pilgrimage. So here we are, we're walking along the Asbury Park boardwalk, and he pulls out this holy card. He's like, dude, what do I do with this? And I said, what is it? And he's like, when I went in, so he went in to go check out the church, and he realizes it's a funeral, and the undertaker's like, here, come on in, and gave him a holy card. So Rich kneels down, to save face, says a couple prayers for the deceased, and comes out and had this holy card in his pocket. And I said, all right, I got an idea. This is perfect. This is how Providence works. I have Mass every day, even when I'm on vacation, and a lot of times it's a private Mass in my hotel room, and that's what I had the next day. I said, I'm going to offer Mass for the deceased, and then when I get back home, I'm going to write the pastor and tell him what happened to you and put this holy card inside my little note card, and I'm going to send it to the pastor and say, the guy who the Mass was for, the deceased, was born on the same year Springsteen was born, and so who knows how all this works out, but I offered a Mass for this guy I never met. So that was cool. So that went out in the mail on Saturday. And then we went to the show that night, and actually with a friend who I met through Maria Wancata, who was in town at the Behold Retreat, who had been to like 9 Springsteen shows before. I only ever met her once, and then twice at Eucharistic Congress, but it's just fun to connect with people over good music. And so, and then stayed with friends all along the way in Pittsburgh and Philly, Steubenville, and it was fun. It was good for me. You could tell I lost my voice a little bit, but I enjoyed it. And so on my vacations, what you ask for is like, what do I need? Well, I pray and exercise every day. That doesn't change. Mm-hmm. But I love seeing my friends, a good meal, just talking, quality time, just being with people you love. That's good for me.
Yeah, same here. Me. Yeah, and so I like to be active in. I like cities, number one. So I like to go to a city that I haven't been to, or that I've been to and really haven't seen certain things in, and so that's what the evening will be like. And when we're doing those things, I tend to, like you, to try to get some folks who I haven't seen for a while, and say, oh, who do I know in this city, in Chicago, in San Francisco, in Los Angeles, whatever, and then go around. I always tend to go to a place that has a Major League Baseball.
I was going to ask that. Yes.
Yep. We usually tend to go to a Major League city and take in a game if we can. And this time we're going back to New York in the middle of September this year, and we're actually not going to see a ball game.
Oh.
We have a wedding that weekend, so it's just not going to work out. And then I'm doing a Mass at Thanksgiving at St. Paul the Apostle, which is the church Marion and I were married in.
Nice.
Home parish, and so that'll be fun. And but yeah, we tend to do those kinds of things. A ball game, a play, if there's theater in the city, or what's the city known for, and go around. Like you said, a good meal. We'll try to find a couple good restaurants. The best vacation I think I ever had, though, was we went to Ireland for about 12 days, and I was the first person in my family in 53 years to return to Ireland because my father's from there. His sister remained in Ireland, and I never met her. She was dead before I can get there. But her son lives there, and him and his wife had honeymooned in New York and in San Francisco, so I met them when they came to New York. And so we went and visited them for a little while and saw the rest of the country as well. But that man took me everywhere my father ever walked.
That's cool.
It was so cool. And I'm just walking through, and he goes, "Oh yeah," and he goes, "And this is where the monks are." And he took me up to this monastery, and I was like, "Oh my God, my father talked about this all the time." He goes, "Yeah, your father used to trim those hedges over there."
Oh, wow.
And so it was really, really cool. To see all the places that my father had talked about. I took tons of pictures, so I bring them back, and then I sat with my dad and was like, "Where's this? Where's this?" And he goes, "Oh my God, they built this all up over here. This was never here." And it was cool for him to see. I always wanted to take him back, but he would never go. He was like, "Nope, I'm with your mother. I'm not going anywhere." And she was like your mom. She was ill. My parents were both 41. We're a lot alike. My parents were both 41 when they had me. And so for family vacations for us, I don't ever remember taking one.
Coney Island?
No, not even. That would have been cool. My mother was really a homebody. She didn't really travel. And she was sick too. I don't remember her really being well. And so, I used to say a trip from Yonkers to let's just say New York City. That's familiar to everybody. But even White Plains, which is the next town in, it might as well have been Beirut. Right, she's packing bags. She's figuring out how to get there, and I'm like, "Mom, it's literally 10 minutes up the block."
Well, Springsteen will say even being in Asbury Park, an hour away from Manhattan, that was not everyone went there. There are a lot of people who never visited the city. It's just too big and too far.
Yeah, Marion tells me that she knows older people who lived in Brooklyn who never went to Manhattan in New York City, which is really great. I mean, it's a few subway stops. I mean. But, yeah, there are people who do that, I love that in the Springsteen's Broadway thing. He goes, "Because I lived in the boondocks."
Oh, yeah. Well, it was great. That whole tri-state area of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York, that's where he started, obviously. He broke, actually, nationally, first here in Cleveland because of a DJ named Kid Leo who used to be on WMMS. Eventually, he went to New York City. But he broke Rush, playing Working Man in Cleveland, and because we're a working man town, and David Bowie and Springsteen. He broke them nationally here in Cleveland, and he got Born to Run before the album came out, and he started playing it every Friday at 5 p.m. And I think MMS still does that to tribute him.
I think that's correct, yeah.
But when he's out there, that there's competition because he's always teasing about New Jersey and New York. And he played the song Wrecking Ball in Philly, and it's about Giants Stadium. What was it called?
The Meadowlands.
Meadowlands, and how it got knocked down. And he said, and and where Giants play their games, people are like, boo! And then he smiles and he's like, Eagles? But yeah, it was great. I actually, let me say something about Wrecking Ball, because this is interesting. So Rich and I went into Freehold, and Springsteen's parish is there. It's called St. Rose of Lima, and it's on, the mailing address is it's a street that begins with a C, but the church faces Randolph Street, and that's where Springsteen grew up.
Right.
87 Randolph Street, and so we were looking for his house, and we knew it wasn't there anymore, but we saw 88 Randolph Street. He is as close to the cathedral as Al's is, right across the street from Superior.
Oh, wow.
So probably 200, maybe 500 feet, or I don't know, a football field, less than a football field. And his home, his childhood home, was torn down to do what? To expand the parking lot, because the church got a lot bigger. And the big Hispanic community there now.
Yes.
And so I told Rich, I said, dude, I always thought Wrecking Ball was about the Meadowlands and knocking it down, but somewhere in Springsteen's mind, it must have also been his childhood home, which was torn down. And then it occurred to me that night that so much of his set, since he is 74, since he's lost Clarence Clemens, Danny Federici, and then the original band that he was with when he was 14 years old, I forget the name of the band, but they survived for 2 years. He's the last man standing in that band. So death is on his mind. Yeah. He opened the show with Atlantic City, where they blew up the Chicken Man in Philly last night, right? And then the refrain of that song is, everything dies, baby, that's a fact. Maybe everything that dies someday comes back. So put your makeup on, fix your hair up pretty, meet me tonight, Atlantic City. So death is coming. It is imminent. No one gets out of here alive. What's Wrecking Ball about? Bring on the Wrecking Ball. Like you can take down my house, you could take down Meadowlands, but life is going to continue after this. There's a belief that life continues. I don't know if it's a fully developed belief in the bodily resurrection as the church teaches, but it's there. It's within him. And then right after that, he played The Rising.
Oh, yeah.
Come on up for The Rising.
Yeah.
And then the last song at every show on this tour is from Letter to You. It's the final track, and it's called See You in My Dreams.
Oh,
and the last line is,
song. Yeah.
For death is not the end, and I'll see you in my dreams. But death is not the end, and that was a constant theme. I mean, I got teary-eyed driving home listening to that, reflecting back on the show. So I guess vacation, I want my heart to rest and my soul to rest, but I want it to rest in truth and meaning and good things and beauty and music and friendship and even good car rides, you know.
Yeah. A meaningful vacation.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't want to go numb.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, me either. You're right. Yeah. That's why I think I want it to be, I want to have some experience that I could take back with me and reflect on for a long time. Like when Mary and I talk about where we've gone on vacations, we're always like, oh, do you remember when this happened? Do you remember when that happened? Do you remember who we were with here? And, you know, wasn't that a great concert, or wasn't that a great ball game, or wasn't, you know, all these kinds of things, or wasn't a great play? Well, you know, more often than not, we talk about that, or a movie or something like that we saw if we were just resting.
Yeah, I don't want to. I mean, I certainly want my soul and my heart to have rest, and so it's different kind of thing that I'm doing when I'm here, you know, at work and ministry.
Yeah.
But I don't want to veg out. I don't want to put my mind or my heart or my soul on hold. I want to go deeper there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a difference for you between vacation and retreat.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Because when you describe your retreat, that's more of
that is it. Yeah.
the veg out, right?
And I literally turn my phone off for 5 days. I do intentional, I do a holy hour, or at least, 40 minutes of quiet prayer every day if I'm not close to the Blessed Sacrament. But retreat is very intentional, and I'm not talking to anybody except my retreat director. And even then, it's still deep meaning. It's never just like I'm checking out. Life is short, and I want to be ready when I die to meet my Maker and answer for my life. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and for me, like retreat is that's actually more of a time for writing for me. It's like I'll sit back and do a lot of journaling on retreat, and then bring that journal with me to my director and say, well, here's some of the things I wrote about.
Yeah.
And they'll go over it with me. And good stuff for further reflection for me too. Like that stuff will be the fodder for homiletic stuff for me for a long time. If I just sit and really look at it afterwards. So that's a treat for me as well.
It's cool.
Hey, you got back from vacation. You came right out to the softball fields.
I did. Well,
last night.
I came back on Friday, and then we had that mass with the bishop and all the delegates, and then Lino Ruli's crew.
Oh,
on,
right, yeah.
Saturday, which was nice, and then
How was that thing with Lino?
it was cool.
I wasn't able.
I
to
loved
go.
that he used the Agora
Yeah.
as home base, because that's an old opera theater.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's kind of a rock place, but it's been recently renovated, air conditioned, and they were very kind to Lino and his crew, and it was good to have them there. But yes, after this 5 o'clock mass at St. Mary of the Falls yesterday, I came out. I caught the tail end of the championship game, and then I saw part of the All-Star game.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah,
A lot of people, 2 tenths up. The league is growing, so
Yeah.
congratulations to you and your crew for getting that thing
Oh,
up.
thanks. Yeah, and Archangel Outfitters, who gave us our uniforms, and they were out there selling their stuff, which was great. And he loves being out there.
Is his
so
name
it was
Mike?
Great, Mike. Yes.
Yeah.
And then over with Veranovo brings the whole family. You
And
know,
200 hot dogs.
200 hot dogs and
Yeah.
some hamburgers and fruit and everything else. They were out there as well. So thanks to our sponsors for coming on out and making it a great day. We had a number of people like just coming out to watch this weekend. I think that was the biggest crowd we've had, so it was nice. I mean, championship, it should be, right?
Come on. It's like a Springsteen
It
show.
was fun. And then I sort of switched roles. I did PA announcing and official scoring all day, and then Logan Feldkamp was playing in the first round, so he didn't have to do any umpiring. We hired an umpire for the day who was great. Mm-hmm. And then we decided for the All-Star game that Logan would manage one team and I would manage the other. So Mary's Mantles was Logan's team.
Blue.
Blue, yep. And Mantle, Mickey Mantle.
Right,
and,
I
and
caught the
Mary's
play. It
Mantles.
was
There
very
you go.
good.
And then the St. Lawrence Flames was my team. So we
Deacon,
took a
yes.
diaconal thing, and also like sort of like the patron saint of comedians, since he was on the grill and he said, "Turn me
Sure.
over on this side, I'm done." So I kind of like that. And Logan's team prevailed in the end, but it was nice to kind of be in a different role. As it's the first
Yeah.
time I was in that role all year, so it was fun, kind of getting to know the team a little bit differently, and it was fun. They gave me a uniform too, so I got to put that on, and I was like, "Oh, this is kind of fun to be out here."
Yeah, and looked like you lost weight, too.
I have 17 pounds.
Good for you.
So there we go.
Good
Keep
for
it-
you.
keep
Slow
it
and
on
steady
going.
wins the race.
Absolutely, that's the way it works, right? We're starting to challenge now. My trainer said, "Okay, we're gonna up the intensity of some of the workouts that you're doing." So it's like, all right, here we go. So it's great. It was a fun day. Congratulations to Big League Chew, who are the winners. We'll have a full softball update in a second with all the details. But Big League Chew are the winner of the softball league this year. They were heavy favorites last year, and they fumbled like in the first round of the playoffs last year, much like the Westside Whitecaps this year. They were the heavy favorites going in the playoffs, and they couldn't get it done. Now, they had 2 of their best players unable to join them this Sunday, so that rain out last week was not kind to the Whitecaps because they couldn't have a full team this week.
Do you remember as kids, they had candy cigarettes?
Yeah,
It's just
sure.
like white sugar, and they put a little red dot at the end.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think they got banned because
Yeah.
they encouraged childhood smoking.
That's correct.
The same is true with Big League Chew. Big League Chew, because
Of
I
course, the
chewed it.
tobacco,
It
yeah.
was it was in a pouch, and it
Yep.
was shredded pink gum.
You could
and
still
you
get
chewed
it somewhere, but yeah.
You're in the big leagues when you make a perfect slide. You're in the big leagues when you keep your team alive. You're in the big leagues. You're in the Big League Chew. I remember the commercial
That's
as a
really
kid.
good. Yeah.
And guess what I started doing when I was 17 or 18? Chewing tobacco.
Did you really?
Yeah. Well, I played baseball, and that's what we did. It was Redmond Golden Blend, but then it started to really stain my teeth. I'm like, man, I don't need this.
Yeah, my friend Joe Favorito, who's the sports information director at Fordham, and now has his own PR firm somewhere. He discouraged me from ever doing that because he said that the first time that he did it, he swallowed
Yeah,
it.
same. Actually, it was with dip. It was Kodiak. Kodiak, it's in that little tin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I put it in my lip, and I'm like, wow, this is I feel lightheaded. And then it started to break up, and then before you knew it, I swallowed it, and then I puked. Yeah,
Ugh,
so
no
I
thanks.
why anyone ever would think to chew tobacco or put it in their lip, I don't know. Or smoke it. Like, who was the first person that did that? I don't know.
No.
But it took off, and it's
you
not that good for you. So if you want to avoid puking, avoid putting tobacco products in your mouth.
Exactly.
How's that?
All right, so no time like the present. Softball year has ended. A little tear ran down my face. The year came to a conclusion. It was a lot of fun. And so let's have this week's final softball update. A crazy final week of softball sponsored by Veranova Health and Archangel Outfitters. It all started back on Tuesday and Wednesday. Young Vitus comes away with the final playoff spot by beating the Ite Project 19-6 and then upsetting the Chosen Ones 9-4 during the week. That got them to Sunday's games, but their Cinderella story came to a close as Catching Flamingos beat them in Sunday's opener 12-5. Zach Hammerhuber, 3 hits, 3 RBIs. Jimmy Ludwig with a homer. That got them to the championship round. Second Sunday game had the top-seeded Westside Whitecaps taking on Big League Chew. The Chew pulls off the upset 7-2. 3 runs in the fourth on some errors by the Caps and a Matt Liberator home run gave them the win. The Caps playing without big bats Brendan Devaney and Bobby Bolin. Last week's rainout didn't help them for sure. No excuses, though. Great win for the Chew. Great season for the Whitecaps. Logan Feldkamp named Coach of the Year for the Whitecaps. And Emily Allen also named the Most Improved Player of the Year, along with Michelle Nin of the Chew. In the championship game, the Chew kept riding that victory train, sounding their trademark choo-choo whistle all afternoon as they beat the Flamingos 15-4. Matt Liberator with his filthy jersey, 3 hits, 3 RBIs. Aaron Linville with a triple as well to drive in 3 more. The Choo-Choo, led by manager Tom Cranes, brings home the Cathedral Cup to St. Columkill. Matt Liberator named MVP. We played an all-star game with Logan Feldkamp managing one team and me managing the other. And the Mary's Mantles beat my St. Lawrence Flames 19-12. Congratulations to them. A lot of walks and big blows by Tyler Meter and Joe Vicario provided all the offense the Mantles would need. Matt Liberator with a home run and a losing cause. Matt and Joel Garvin with triples along with Greg Marshavicius to round things out for the Flames. A great year of softball. Thanks to everyone, especially Assistant Commissioner Logan Feldkamp and the other coaches all year long in this league who just made it so much fun. So I'm Deacon Mike Hayes. This is your softball update. Congrats again to Big League Chew. Congrats again to Mary's Mantles for winning the All-Star game. And hey, congrats to Matt Liberator, who was named the MVP of the final game. Had a big day, three hits, 3 RBIs. He is a big hitter.
I came in yesterday because his team was up first, and they were jacking the ball out of the park. If there was a fence, he would have hit his over there.
Yeah, I think so. At least once. Yeah. The other thing too is he gets dirty. I don't think he's washed his uniform all year. It was just filthy all year. And so I was doing PA announcer, and I was like, now batting. Matt, filthy jersey, Liberator. Oh, like everyone laughed. And then he got up again. I said, now batting, Matt, Pigpen, Liberator.
It's funny.
He starts laughing. And every time I said something, he got a hit. The one time I just said, Matt Liberator, he flied out. He was like, you got to give me a name every time.
Yeah. I think his brother, Dan Liberator, is a seminarian. If I'm not mistaken. So, yes. But that whole family is highly athletic.
Yeah, his sister Emma plays on Big League. She wasn't able to be there yesterday.
They're great athletes.
She was really good as well.
He's a big dude, too, isn't he?
He is. He's kind of jacked.
So he got all the torque in his hips and drive the ball far. Yeah.
A lot of fun.
It's cool.
Yeah, so we'll do that league again next year.
How about volleyball or bowling? That was a rumor yesterday when I was standing around the fence.
We've been talking about that. We got to talk about some budgeting. There are a number of little young adult groups that do a lot of that already.
Oh, okay.
They do some volleyball out in Parma, I think, and then bowling is a good idea. I think we might be able to make that happen. So
bowling's fun.
Yeah, and it's easy. Right? It's just when there's not a lot of overhead on that. So we'll talk.
Cool.
Logan and I will get together and talk a little bit. It's also, my copious spare time as well as Logan's copious spare time is never really great. I started doctor ministry studies, which I don't think we've talked about. So that started on Wednesday. So got to get cracking at the books again.
It's fun though.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah,
you like school. I like school.
I do. Yeah. And then we're finishing the masters on the way as well, the master in diaconal ministry. So I just have to do a final project. So
good for you.
Yeah, so lots going on. It was, and by the way, St. Chris, my parish, we had our parish festival this weekend. So I was the MC Friday and all day Saturday, and then Sunday morning we had 11:30 mass followed by a full pancake breakfast. The folks who did the food, we took all the food like in house this year and hired like a parishioner who has his own company, and so he did all the food. He did a pulled pork sandwich, hot dogs, hamburgers, pizza. We just ordered the pizza, but we did all those kinds of things. So it was a big deal all weekend long. There was a great band that I think you would like that was there on Saturday night called Follow the Sun, local Cleveland band. They were really good. Like they played the covers, but they were just really fun. Like my wife and I danced half the night. It was really fun. We're sort of known as a cute little couple at St. Chris now because we were dancing together. No one was really dancing, and then my wife and I just were on the side, and we just started dancing. Everybody's looking over at us like, oh, look at the deacon and his wife dancing.
That's fun.
It was fun. All right, so by the way, church this week, I guess we should just go to St. Columkill since Catching Fire won. That's the parish that won. The finals would have been St. Columkill against St. Columkill because Catching Flamingos is also St. Columkill. So no matter what, St. Columkill is going to take the trophy for the year.
Well, that reminds me, Columkill is very similar because just a few weeks ago, Mary Kate Glow was sitting here was talking about Christ the King Chapel at Walsh. And the church itself, St. Columkill, is modern. I think it was built in the 60s. And it reminds me of Théo de Chardin's Everything That Rises Must Converge because the ceiling, the roof, comes up and converges like this and heads up toward Christ, who is the alpha point, the omega point in history.
Yep.
So if you've never been there and you're like, why is that way? I think it was influenced by his thought. O'Connor loved Théo de Chardin. She was suspicious of some things he had theologically that weren't right, and there's still like a warning on his work, but he has some good things to offer, especially in terms of poetry. So,
absolutely. Yeah. That was a good short story, too.
Oh, yeah.
That we'll be talking about as a staff soon.
Yep.
All right, so St. Columkill and Parmick, check them out. And then readings for this coming Sunday. What Sunday is this? It's the 22nd. There you go, for September 1st. Liked the gospel this week. Like the last paragraph, from within people, from their hearts, come evil thoughts, unchastity, theft, murder, adultery, greed, malice, deceit, licentiousness, envy, blasphemy, arrogance, folly. Gee, what else? Yeah. All these evils come from within, and they defile. I always think, no one could really make you do anything. You've got some of these things in your heart already, and then you have to dispense with those things. No one can do that for you.
Yeah. Your actions and your language reveal your heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to focus on the beginning of the gospel because St. Mark says, when the Pharisees with some scribes who had just come from Jerusalem gathered around Jesus, they observed that some of his disciples ate their meals with unclean, that is, unwashed hands. And then they challenged Jesus. And so it's easy to say, those Pharisees and scribes. Jesus loved them deeply.
That's right.
And when he offers a challenge to them or an admonition, it's not because he hates them. It's because he loves them, and he's actually trying to wake up their own hearts. And I think that's really important to keep in mind, especially in this political season where we may have disagreements with other people, with other politicians, even within ourselves. Like, what do I do in this situation? I hate these. The Lord didn't hate anybody. He loved everyone. And it's got to be our approach too. It's too easy to scapegoat people.
Yeah.
And the Lord didn't scapegoat people. He was constantly trying to bring people into his own heart. And depending upon where they were, he had different methods of doing that. But at the end of the day, we're not about hating anyone. We're actually about loving people and loving them into the Lord.
Yeah. I've been preaching about that every once in a while this summer. Do we ever give anyone a really fair shake, or do we prejudge them? Like, do we finish someone's sentences because we know what they're about to say, or do we not listen to someone who's like, oh well, I know what he's going to give this position's opinion, and I'm not going to really listen to what he has to say or why he has to say it. How has he come to those conclusions? How has she come to believe what she believes?
Yeah.
And so when we're a little more open, we let people. We let people talk and we let people hear what they have to say. We discover they might have good reasons for believing what they believe. They might not be right, and we might not agree with them, but we can at least come to understand them a little bit more. Cool.
Cool.
Next vacation for you? Next week.
Well, yeah, I'm going to see. It's a long weekend, so I have friends who live in Appalachia who I
nice.
see every Labor Day weekend.
Ah.
They're super active, young couple, 4 kids, and it's competition a lot. And they cook and we have a good time. But
That's fun.
yeah, it's good to see them. How about you?
Vacation for me won't come until I'll have a long weekend in New York in September to do Mass Thanksgiving. I'll see my sister for the first time in a while. She has not seen me as a deacon yet, so she's going to come to my Mass at Thanksgiving because she wasn't able to come to ordination. And then I won't take vacation until Christmas time.
Nice.
That's a good time for us to kind of get away. You know, after Thanksgiving, I kind of wind it down a little bit in my office and take most of my vacation during the Christmas.
I remember
holiday.
that. That's smart. It's good.
Yeah, because we get a little time off. The bishop graciously gives us a little time off usually at the end of December. So
Yeah.
I kind of.
I'm a little trip guy, although I do think moving forward I should take some longer things. But anyway, I'm doing what I do at this point. It's fine.
We got time.
Yeah.
Hopefully your vacation this summer was fruitful for you, and hopefully this podcast has been as well. If you like this podcast, tell a friend and rate and review us here on Apple Podcast or Spotify or wherever you listen to our podcasts. We'll have this and a whole lot more next time here on Question of Faith.